الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العالمين، وله الكبرياء في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ملك الحق المبين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله وأمين على وحيه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, all praise and glory and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything we have, and we are dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all our needs. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِّعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Anything good that is going in your life, it's a blessing and favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all your needs for this life and the hereafter are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the rizq. Ibrahim alayhi salam told his people, فَابْتَغُوا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الرِّزْقِ. Even the provision, and it comes to you through your business or through your company, but originally it is a rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Last time we reflected and discussed the hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he says, Al-Iman ma waqqara fil qalb wa saddaqahu al-amal. Iman is something that resides in the heart and translates into action, or it is confirmed and reaffirmed by action. And we focused on the first part, the Iman, the true Iman. The true Iman, the vibrant Iman that is, unfortunately for a large part, it is lost. And between the two, between the Iman, which is in the heart, and the action, there is also knowledge. That's the link or the bridge between the two. Iman gives you the incentive, the energy. Knowledge gives you the direction. And when you drive, you know you need both. You need the fuel and you need the steering. So Iman is needed. That will motivate you and inspire you, and also knowledge is needed to direct you so that you end up doing what needs to be done. You end up doing the right thing, and you end up doing things according to the correct priority. And unfortunately nowadays, the Iman or the Islam that is prevalent among Muslims is lacking a lot of this. It's not really vibrant Iman. Knowledge is very superficial, and action is basically people are trying to do the minimum because that's what they were told. They were told that they need to do the minimum to avoid punishment. So there is no big motivation or big incentive to do good, because that knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's what we focused on, the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's the essence of our deen. The essence of our deen is the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is weak, is superficial, and therefore the product is also, the action is also superficial and limited or minimum. And we focus mostly on, yes, the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is multidimensional. It has more than one dimension. Love, fear, hope, tawakkul, trust, reverence, gratitude, number of dimensions that link us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the foundation of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be mainly love and gratitude. That's everything else is important, and every dimension is important, but we need to get to the point where we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not out of fear of punishment, which makes us do the minimum to avoid punishment, but out of love of Allah and gratitude, which makes us try to do the maximum we can to express that love and that gratitude. And we talked about the fact that all these dimensions have to be cultivated. They have to be developed. Don't expect them to happen by themselves. Something that you have to work on it. Nobody expects muscles to develop without exercise, without workout. Nobody should expect your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to become strong and vibrant without working on it, without cultivating. There is something called cultivating a relationship. It's like a tree. To get the fruits, you have to work and take good care of that tree until you get the fruits. Same thing with the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You keep working on it until all these dimensions we were talking about, you push them to the maximum. That you love Allah more than anything else, including yourself. And that Allah is present in your life and in your thinking more than anything else and more than anybody else. أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما. That's the level you want to reach. And we talked about practical ways to do that. The most efficient ways to do this is the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a very effective way because every name and attribute, Asma'ullah, works on one of those dimensions. Some names makes you love Allah more, some names makes you more grateful, some names makes you more revere Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more, etc. Because the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompass mercy, power, rizq, everything. It reminds you of your dependence on Allah, it reminds you of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the names and attributes, if you memorize them, and that's doable. Everybody can do that, memorize them and master them and understand them very well. That's a very effective and easy and short, quick way to strengthen your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other way is to study the Quran. Because that's the main purpose of the Quran, is to work on that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have recited the verse that Allah نزل أحسن الحديث كتابا متشابها مثانية تقشعر منه جلود الذين يخشون ربهم ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم لذكر الله. The Quran, that's what it does. When you read it with reflection and contemplation, it will be keep your heart pure and vibrant and sound, and also works on those dimensions of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every verse or some couple of verses will remind you of one of those and strengthen one of those dimensions. It's like when you go to the gym. Every equipment works on one type of muscle. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Quran also does work on all your dimensions, all the dimension of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran nourish your spirit like food nourish your body, cleanse your heart. It does, you cannot, if you want to imagine someone who abandoned the Quran or deserted the Quran, what's going to happen to the iman and the spirit of this person, it's like someone who stops eating and stops showering, etc. What's going to happen to his body? That's exactly what happens to the spirit and the iman when you abandon the Quran, when you desert the Quran. It's not washed and it's not cleansed and it's not refreshed and it's not nourished anymore. I'm going to move to talk about the actions. Now, if that iman is there, if that true iman is there, and remember that the verse in Surah Al-Hujurat distinguish between the true iman and the tasdeeq, or the acceptance. قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا قَالَتْ الْأَعْرَابُ آمَنَّا قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا. You just accepted the fact that Allah exists and the hereafter, but it did not reach the level of iman. So if that true iman is there, it's going to translate into what? It's going to translate into, like the verse says, when it says that إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. Those whose faith has reached the level of certainty, that translates into what? The verse says, وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. They spared no effort in advancing the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the translation. The translation of true iman is for someone to be not very motivated, and do your best fi sabilillah. Do everything you can. And we're going to talk about what needs to be done. And again, unfortunately, we keep having to clarify this, that jihad has nothing to do with violence or fighting or qital or anything. Jihad is doing your utmost. جاهدوا في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم, meaning doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do and expects you to do to the best of your ability. You perfect your prayer, you are the most generous possible when it comes to charity. You do maximum effort في سبيل الله. That's the meaning. So جاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم, that's the evidence if the true iman is there. Now the true iman transforms individuals, as we have mentioned repeatedly, creates that transformation. The true iman transforms individuals. Unfortunately, right now, we don't see that transformation. And right now, we don't see a lot of action when a person becomes practicing Muslims. When a person becomes practicing Muslims, what happens nowadays in most Muslim societies? The only thing that you're going to notice is that this person is going to start praying and fasting if he was not praying and fasting, and probably if he was drinking or committing fornication or adultery, will stop. That's all. That's all what's going to happen for this person. A lot of time, people who are practicing Muslim, they continue to lie, they continue to cheat, all forms of cheating. They don't see any problem with that. And that's one of the main reasons why, even though so many people came back to Islam, nothing has changed. Why? Because they came back to that superficial Islam, not the true Iman. There is no real transformation that happened in those people. And even the ibadat, the rituals that people perform, a lot of time they are done in a very routine way. And it's something that is really dull. It's not really vibrant. It's not like somebody get excited to worship, or that worship will have any impact on that person. People are doing that for two reasons. Majority of people, and I'm sorry, I say the reality as is. Majority of people are doing worshiping or stopping, refraining from committing sin for two reasons. One is a habit, and two is fear of punishment. That's all. That's why they try to do the minimum. Try to do the minimum so that they will not be that, because that's what they were told. So because of this superficial Islam, even though we have seen a lot of people come back to Islam, a lot of people become practicing Muslim, but there was no any significant change. Why? Because that superficial Islam did not change the individual, did not change the way they think, the way they behave, their character, etc. No, they added a couple of items and the person remained the same person with the same thinking and the same behavior. The true Iman that we should be looking for and embracing produce that transformation, or that radical, complete transformation in the person and also in the society. In the individuals, it gives the individuals a life mission. It makes that person devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to His cause. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffa. A person used to live a very empty life, living for himself, embraces Islam, becomes someone who's mission driven, has a very high purpose and has a cause. Big transformation. We have seen it in the lives of the companions. And I always recommend that you read the stories of the companions, what happened to them before and after Islam. A lot of books, they talk only about companions after Islam. But try to read and search about before and after to see the kind of change and transformation that happened. This true Iman pushes you to try to be a role model. And that's one of the main action. Speaking about the action from the hadith, صدقه العمل, one of the main action that comes out or is the result of that true Iman is that the person working hard to develop yourself into a role model. Like Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a role model, you are expected to be a role model for the people around you. If you want to be like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you want to be like Prophet, take the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as qudwa, uswa. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. So try to develop yourself into a role model. And also, you want to be like Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was sent as a mercy to humanity. You should strive to be mercy to the people around you. And if you want to summarize, one way to summarize the action that is expected from a Muslim are these two. Work on yourself to be a role model, to be all you can be, and then be a mercy to the people around you. What a mercy and blessing to the people around you. Now, what kind of transformation Islam produces in the society? It makes the society prosperous, yes. So if you see a Muslim country that is backward or stagnant and it's not prosperous, you know that cannot be the result of true Iman. Why? Because part and essential duty of a Muslim is to develop this earth, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed you to be a Khalifa on earth, to manage it. هو الذي أنشأكم من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. He settled you on earth to develop it. So if you find a Muslim country that is not developed, that is backward or stagnant, you know that whatever Islam is there, even if the mosques are full, there is something wrong with their understanding of Islam and their commitment to it. And that cannot be the true Iman. True Iman will produce that justice and that prosperous society. And why is this? Why this is the consequences and the result? Because again, the true Iman does two things. One, gives you a lot of motivation to do good. And all the good is in the society. Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar is what? Is to increase anything that is good in the society. So you as an individual becomes motivated to contribute to the greater good. It becomes a religious duty. It's not only something that is good to do or makes you feel good. It's a religious duty to be someone who contributes to the greater good, to make the society in which you're living a better place. So you add a religious motivation for people to contribute to the greater good and prevent them from being harmful or damaging, and also prevent them from being passive. Because it's well established in Islam, there is no room for passiveness or indifference. You cannot say that that's none of my business. Remember the hadith of the Safina, ship, that Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used this metaphor for the society like people on board of a ship. Some of them are on the lower deck and some are on the upper deck. The people on the lower deck, whenever they need water, they go up and get water. So they got together. Look at the beautiful description of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They get together and say, why bothering these people? Let's dig a hole in the ship and get our water directly. Very good intention. What Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if they let them do it, everybody will sink. So if the people on the upper deck say we're okay, we are up there, so we are safe, then that's a very silly way to think. And that's what many people are doing without noticing and without being aware of it. When you live in society and you are passive, that's what you're doing. You're doing like the people in the upper deck saying that let them dig a hole in the ship, we are safe here. A lot of people, that's the way they think. They say, I don't care what happens in the society, I'm just going to mind my own business. And also, the reason that the true Iman produces these great results, so incentive for you to be all you can be, and that also will benefit the society, self-development. The better person you are, the better, because society at the end of the day is individuals. The better the individuals. So the Islam gives you an incentive to improve yourself, to be a better person, gives you an incentive to contribute to the greater good, and also what? And also increase your taqwa. Taqwa is to be aware of what you say and what you do, and to be able to restrain yourself. So like everybody becomes police of himself. And that's also translated to, will be beneficial for the society. The more people they have that self-restraint, they can restrain themselves from doing anything that is bad, anything that is harmful. They don't need to be watched by police or by anybody. They have an internal incentive to refrain from doing anything that is harmful to them or harmful to the society. Put this package together: incentive to improve yourself, to develop yourself to be a better person, incentive to contribute to make the society a better society, and also ability to restrain yourself. Did this happen in Muslim country? It didn't. We had people become practicing, they come to the mosque, but we didn't see neither self-development nor contribution to the greater good, nor stronger ability to restrain themselves. This package did not happen. Why? Because that version of Islam, as I said, there is a problem in the understanding and the commitment of people to this deed. So if this is not happening, and it is not happening, then we have to question the quality of the Iman and the understanding and commitment to Islam. So that Iman did not take roots. It was something that is superficial. It was not really, did not take roots in the heart of individuals. So that's what's going on now. Now, what is the ideal picture, or what we should be working for and correcting this society? We're going to have to go back to the model of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for 13 years in Mecca, 13 years. What many Muslims do not do, all the ibadat, all the rituals, they were prescribed in Medina, not in Mecca. All the rituals, fasting, zakat, hajj, khamr, alcohol was forbidden in Medina. All of this came in Medina. So what Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was doing in Mecca, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was planting that true Iman in the hearts of the companions and reinforcing it. That getting that full commitment and devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 13 years. To produce what? To produce mission-driven individuals and mission-driven community who are completely dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ready to do whatever it takes to seek the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 13 years building that individual and building that community. And then you saw the results, that great success story. So producing people who are dedicated, completely dedicated to Allah, to His cause, and to fulfill the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever it takes. Mainly, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was working on their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He continued to do that in Medina. But in Mecca, that's what he was doing. In Mecca, he was working on their relationship of the individual with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reach that level that we described last time, أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواه. All the ibadat came back. And even ibadat. Ibadat was the rituals. They were prescribed for what? First of all, they were prescribed for people who are already dedicated and committed, devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they prescribed for what? They were prescribed to maintain that commitment. There are people who are committed to a mission, and there are ibadat that were prescribed to strengthen them and to maintain, keep that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to build and keep developing these individuals to fulfill that mission. So the day Muslims abandoned that mission, even the ibadat became very dull, produced nothing. We perform them, you are the same person before and after. Doesn't change much. Why? Because they were attached to a bigger picture. There was a mission for which people are committed. These people are devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ittiba' ridwanullah, to seek the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever it takes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed those ibadat to maintain, it's like maintenance of their iman, to keep that iman fresh and vibrant, and to strengthen those individuals to fulfill that mission. The day Muslims abandon that mission, even the ibadat become irrelevant. People perform them nowadays and they have no impact. No impact on the individual. They don't motivate, they don't strengthen your self-restraint, and you know the stories of people who do not miss prayers, but they can take briberies. They can cheat, all kinds of cheating. And they don't see any contradiction between the two. That's different. They're just praying. They're praying, but that prayer is not impacting their character or their behavior. And the ibadat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah that these ibadat are meant to increase your taqwa. يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Worship to increase your taqwa. Worship, or you believe, worship not just to get it out of the way, worship so that your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is stronger, your heart is more vibrant, your iman is more vibrant. Same thing was mentioned about fasting, about Hajj, about لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that your taqwa will increase by performing those rituals. So we reduce the action to the rituals, and then the rituals themselves, they are not really done properly. The quality it's getting poor and poor. We ended up doing the least and not even doing it, and it's not a good quality. What is required from a believer is much more than the rituals. It's much more than praying and fasting and abstaining from drinking and fornication. It's much more than that. This is a small piece in a huge picture that you have to understand. What is required from you comes into two main categories. One is tazkiyah, to work on yourself to be a better person, and that requires so much work, so much knowledge to learn, so much things to develop yourself into a better person every day. And two is the category of islah, which is to maximize your contribution to the greater good. That is not happening nowadays. We reduced all of this into a couple of things to do and a couple of things to avoid, and even the ones that we are doing them, we're not trying to perfect them, and we're doing it again for the wrong purpose. You don't worship Allah just to avoid punishment. You worship Allah to express your love and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to strengthen your relationship with Him. وَتُوبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوب إليه نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, I'm sure everybody is aware of the unfortunate incident that a young man named Tyre Nichols was murdered. He's only 29-year-old last month at the hands of the police once again in Memphis, Tennessee. He was pulled over and brutally beaten by the police, which produced a lot of anger and grief. These are no longer isolated incidents. Yes, we cannot generalize, and we shouldn't. There are a lot of policemen who are doing their job professionally, very decent people, etc. But this is reoccurring. It's happening over and over again. It is about time to acknowledge the problem and to tackle it. Yes, this country came a long way in suppressing discrimination and racism. Suppressing, at least by law, people are very careful because the law is very strict. But unfortunately, there are still some loopholes that gets this or makes this unfortunate incident possible. Now, firing officers or even indicting them, that's not going to cut it. That's the minimum needed. But it is about time that this problem is acknowledged and addressed from the root cause. Whatever reform need to be made, whatever legislative reform, whatever reform need to education, awareness, etc. But that should not continue. And Muslims, cannot say this is none of our business, because it concerns another minority. That's not true. Muslims should never think this way. Muslims should think always in terms of justice. Whatever is just, you advocate it. Whatever is wrong and unjust, you work against it. And we should be at the forefront of those movements that are calling for reform and calling for justice to be served. So this is, again, something that we need to be aware of it and need to be involved in it. And we should start thinking in terms of only Muslim issues, only the issues that affect our community directly, that these are, we get involved in them temporarily, and then we go back to go back to be passive. We should be involved in all mainstream issues because we are sent as a mercy and blessing to humanity, not to serve our own needs. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. So whatever is happening, you find out what Islam has to say about it, what is the right thing, and then you take that stand and advocate it and join hands with others. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا توفنا وانت راض عنا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا واجعل خير أعمالنا خواتمها وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك. متعنا اللهم بالنظر إلى وجهك الكريم. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا وارحم موتانا وجميع موتى المسلمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى الصلاة.